All right. Welcome, everyone, today to the Good in the Head podcast, where we seek out people and different ways to experiment with in order to provide ourselves with personal upgrade opportunities, different habits, beliefs, perspectives that may empower us to help ourselves to live an even better life than we currently are. Today, we're blessed to have Shanta on with Authentic Talks. And I'm really pleased and grateful to you, Shanta, for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete, for having me on the show. I'm super excited to be here. And for those of you who are tuning in, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Shanta Generally, and I am a mindset coach. And a part of my purpose is to help women to grow and develop and move more towards becoming their true self by helping them to build confidence and courage and just all of the tools and things that we need to help them to really live the life that they truly deserve and desire. So that's what I do. And I also have a little shop, a pop-up shop is what they call it, where I sell metaphysical tools in that shop, like sage and crystals and things of that nature. And as you mentioned, Pete, also the host of Authentic Talks 2.0, which is a podcast about growth, love, respect, and success. And that podcast is also about growth, love, respect, success, and mind, body, and spirit. So I love what I do. It feels good to be walking in my purpose. And I also work with young women and men as well. But the primary focus is to help women to empower them and know that they have the power, Pete, within them to create that life.
I love that. It was interesting the way that we met a few weeks ago at a farmer's market. I mean, it was, I would say it's by chance, but I believe that we both know that there's purpose behind everything that happens in our lives. And my wife immediately was drawn to your area. And I kind of refer to her as a teacher and a guru of mine. And I'm so grateful to have her in my life. And she was drawn only into your tent out of all the ones that we went to. And we spent some time in there. And within a few minutes, she came to me and said, "Hey, this is someone you need to have on your show. Come here." And I've learned through experience with my wife that it's really important to practice listening to that intuitive guide within. But I've really learned to listen to hers. And so immediately when she said that, I was like, okay, I got to meet her. And you gave me your card and we connected, and I'm grateful we did, because I have listened to a few of your podcasts on YouTube while at work. And I really loved the content that you were putting out about self-love, vibrational energies and frequencies and alignment.
Mhm.
And I'm super excited to explore some of the tools that you've learned in your life that have empowered you to help and save yourself and become the woman that you are today, as a basically a source of empowerment for others to do the same. Can we start today with basically a rundown of your life story, where you were born, brought up, and some of the life experiences that were most important to you?
Ooh, yes, Pete. Thank you so much. And yes, we could definitely dive into that. Well, at my age, there's so many different events that have happened that have shaped the way that I am today. But just taking you through just a quick timeline, I was born in the South in New Orleans, Louisiana, grew up in the Midwest and in the West Coast. And then I wind up here in Arizona due to a job. And throughout my entire life, it felt like it was one little bump after another, and I had a choice that I could either wallow in it and be sad, depressed, and focus on all the negative, which only would lower my vibration and give me more of what I didn't want. Or I had a choice where I could say, okay, this happened, deal with it, by going through whatever I need to go through, whether that was me crying, whether that was me just being pissed off, and just letting it come out. Or I found that for me, I'm not the type of person that can hold it in. So I needed to journal about it. And so I don't consider myself as someone who is a professional writer where I have like a ton of books out there, but I will journal and just get it out, because I found that for me, if I'm holding it in, it causes tension in my body. Stuff starts to hurt. My back is hurting. My neck hurts. I just can't get comfortable. And then I don't feel good. And I had a bout of, they say sadness. Some people call it sadness, but I say that I was depressed, but I know that there is clinical depression. It wasn't that. It was longer than it should have been. And so it was through going through different things in my life that it just kind of finally all took its toll. And when I hit that bottom, that's when I moved into my spiritual journey, and that helped me. For myself, I know and believe that there's something greater than us that exists in this entire universe. And when I hold on to that, and that's been a big part of my healing process and helping me through. I came from a broken family as a young lady, and went through where my mother, we had domestic violence in our home where she would get beat. I had where there was separation from my father for many years, single mom, just kind of moving all around with us, no stability in my life as a young person that, most people would have. And then there comes that choice. You get to the end of the road, or is it the beginning of the road? And you say, hey, you know what? I have a choice. Which way do I want to go? And I'm not saying that things were perfect, because I did hit like all these bumpity bump roads in my life, being molested as a young girl. It's just going through a lot of different things that led me to like my heart just having this huge uh the ability to hold space for other people, to hold space not only for myself, but to help to, give a hand to other women who may have gone through some of those same experiences, to let them know that like those circumstances that you have does not define who you are. You are who you are deep inside, and you got to know how to know who you are, get to know who you are, so that you can walk in your power. You can walk towards your purpose. And so I'm someone that sits very comfortable on the positive side of things, because I understand positive psychology. I get that whole thing about frequency and vibration and manifestation. All of this is in alignment with each other. It all goes together. So if we're doing, forgiveness is huge, Pete. So for me, I found that that was something that was huge in my life that helped me to be able to first kind of bust out of the gates. Because when I was walking around saying, I'm okay, I let all that stuff go, but I really hadn't dealt with it. It was down inside there. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of starts bubbling up and getting to a point where it just comes bursting out. So we have to deal with things that happen in our lives. It's a part of our healing process, and then that's how we're able to help other people through our life situations and stories.
I love that. And this may sound a little strange, but hear me out. So I've had guests on the show that have a relatively quote unquote easy life. And then I've had guests who have really just been through hell. And all of them have been valuable guests. And I've found that the people that have been through the most really have an opportunity to learn so much more than those who are finding themselves in a life of ease and comfort most of the time. And they are the ones that are able to find even more tools, because it's become necessary for them in order to heal and realign with their true self, capital S self, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and really work through some things and become the person they need to be in order to deal with what they've gone through, and then truly empower others to help themselves do the same. So I love how how transparent and open and honest you are, and how authentic you choose to be with the information that you've learned on how to deal with things. For those young women or women that are going through hell right now, what would you suggest as far as tools or opportunities with new practices that they have not yet tried out? Maybe where could they start to expand into what they actually are?
Mhm. If someone tuning in was wanting to start that self-healing journey, I would say jams is one way. This is my thing. It's called jams, okay? So now the J stands for journaling. And with that, with journaling, a lot of people really would be surprised to know possibly how healing that can be. You know how we all need to talk to somebody, but let's say that there's nobody around that you feel comfortable to talk with. You can have a conversation with yourself. You can have a conversation through writing with, whether it's God that you refer to as, or whether it's the universe or source or the divine. It's all the same thing. And you can sit down and you can say, "Dear universe," and just literally just talk to the universe, talk to source, talk to the creator, and write it out about like this is what I'm feeling. And you'll be surprised that you can have a whole full blown conversation if you're someone who enjoys writing. This is what I call dumping. You get this out. Whenever we don't talk to somebody or we don't write about it to get it out, we're holding on to things. And so, whatever it is that you feel that is stopping you or that is in the way, you would sit down and just start writing, like, this is what I believe. I believe I am struggling with X, Y, and Z, or I am struggling with this, and I believe it's hard to move forward because, and be honest, why do you feel that it's hard to move forward? And then you have to ask yourself, is that really true? Is it true that if I do move forward with this, that I'm not going to be successful? Or if I move forward with that, I'm going to hit a roadblock here. It's like we have to get to that place where we don't believe that we're going to fail before we even try, or that we believe that we have to be a certain way because my grandmother was that way and my mother was that way and my great grandmother I heard was that way. Does that mean I need to have that same life or I need to be walking those same shoes? No. You get to create the life that you truly want to live. And so journaling is one way that helps you to relieve some of your things that are in your mind, all that stuff that's going on, that self-talk. And so I love that. The second one, the A, because it's jams, it's JAMMS. So the A is for affirmations. When we talk earlier, I talked about being positive and how important that is for our frequency. You have to get into a place where you affirm the things that you know you are. And so affirmations, it's one way for us to start to retrain our minds. It's how we reprogram those thoughts, that are there, those sabotaging thoughts. If you're someone who, may be thinking not positive. And so affirmations like, I am amazing. I am a spiritual magnet attracting all things in the universe that are for my highest good. I am loving. I am lovable, things of that nature. Those are small ones, but you can create your own affirmations, affirm who you are. If you know that you're amazing, affirm it. So that's my A. And then meditation is huge. You have to meditate. And oftentimes we hear things from people where they feel like they don't have the ability to sit there and be like, and no thoughts. That's not
Yeah.
really what that is all about. So it's really important for us to know what meditation truly means. And I always recommend for people to start off, sit there, light a candle, and then stare at that candle for about 20 minutes, just staring at it. And don't worry about if you have thoughts. This is one way you can kind of start to get into it, right?
Mm.
And try 20 minutes and then close your eyes and then just think about the flame, that you just seen, and just keep letting the thoughts go through. That's the beginning of trying to get into a longer one, but you could even just honestly sit with yourself. It's just have some alone time. Sit with yourself and just even observe your thoughts. People think that meditation has to be some big grand thing, but we grow into that if we allow it to. You have to be intentional with saying, okay, I'm going to have these 10 minutes or these 3 minutes. Start small, but it's important for you to just start to incorporate that in your life, because that's how you can start to really know also in a way of who you are, honestly. And you get downloads too after a while. They start coming to you, amazing ideas. And I say get to know yourself, Pete, because you get to observe your thoughts, Pete. Like, what is all this stuff going on up here? Then you're like, okay, wait a minute. Like, all these things that I'm thinking about, either you can identify that these were all negative thoughts, and then you're like, geez, am I always this negative? And then it brings the awareness, Pete, where you can know, like, hey, I need to be intentional with my thoughts. I want to have a good life. I want to attract a tribe to me. I want to have good people around me. But oftentimes we can, when we're not doing what we need to do to take care of ourselves, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, we start to fall apart.
We do. We get in trouble.
Yeah. So meditation is definitely something that's huge. And then mindfulness is your other M. And for me, mindfulness, Pete, is like, it's like me being here right now in the now, present right now. So anyone who has anxiety, this is one way that you're able to help yourself out by not worrying about what's going to happen, not looking ahead like, oh, 2 weeks from now and thinking about the whole outcome. You didn't play the whole 2 weeks in your head, and now you already know what's going to happen, and you're giving yourself like anxiety.
Guilty.
Mindfulness is important. Be in the now. You have to be present right now in these moments. And then it's okay to think about, okay, I want to plan this or that. But when you start getting jumbled, when it starts getting too crowded, too many thoughts, and you're all over the place, take a deep breath in, because breath work is good too. And, take a deep breath in through your nose, and you're like, and then let it out, and when you're breathing out, you're letting out confusion, breathe out frustration, breathe out like the anxiety, and say, let me just take it one step at a time. So being mindfulness is good. Go to the park, watch the birds fly, look at the ducks floating around, just be right here, right now. What color are the socks I'm wearing? Let me think about, just right here, right now. And then your S, Pete, is for spirituality. And what that means is, for me, that is you having a connection with source, with the creator, with the divine. And that could be in the way that you feel that it is best for you. Most people take that as like, it's, you got to be religious and you have to go to church every single Sunday, or you have to be there every single Saturday or every Wednesday for Bible studies. And that's not it. It's what's in the inside of you, and knowing that you're connected to infinite intelligence. And so therefore, it's all within us. And for me, I also have sage that I use, Pete, and I clear out, unwanted energies out of my space. I clear out the things that we can feel, which is energy. We feel energy, we can't see it. And so, when we start talking about the supernatural, that gets us in a whole nother area. But for me, that encompasses my spirituality as well, where I am making sure that I protect my energy, cleansing out my space, and making sure that I meditate and do certain things so I can be able to function, and be the best me that I can be.
I love, love, love that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I've got a quote from a book called The Four Agreements, and basically it
Oh, I love
says,
that.
always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. And under any circumstance, simply do your best, and you will avoid self judgment, self abuse, and regret.
I love that. I love that book by Don Miguel.
Yep.
Yep, the Four Agreements. That's good stuff.
Short book. It's free, the audio version on YouTube, and it is worth reviewing over and over. Now, to kind of unpack the jams, at first I thought, she's kind of speaking to my soul here. She's talking about music, and then you broke out with all the rest of that, and I'm like, oh wow, she's going deep. Okay, cool. Um, Back before, when you were sort of telling the story of how you were raised and what you had gone through, some of those things, you spoke about forgiveness, and I love that. I came across a quote that said something along the effects of, you know, be able to first forgive yourself for being who you needed to be at that time in order to survive what you were going through. I thought that was beautiful because it all starts within. And before we can give anything to anyone, we've got to be able to learn to practice giving those things to ourselves, including forgiveness, love, acceptance, appreciation. Um, what do you go ahead? I know you got
I'm
something to say
sorry.
about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. We definitely have to be able to forgive because it is for us. It's about me, so it's like that's why you have to be able to let that go. And some people say, and it doesn't mean that you have to have them all up in your space and in your face and being best friends. Forgiving them means that you're able to let it go. But if you were able to come in contact with them and see them, you're not like going back to that space of what happened 20 years ago. You can see them as a human being and possibly have empathy for them, and because some of the things that some people do, that there has to be something going on, that where they need help,
Yeah.
so um whenever we start getting into all of that, to be honest with you, yeah, that forgiveness is for you. And that's funny, Pete, about the jams. Let me tell you this. You can jam out whenever you have jams in your life, allowing you to get through that, through all of the different things. But those are just like some tools that I use. And there's so many tools. There's just a whole host. When we talk about forgiveness, Pete, there is a exercise that I have people do where when there's a certain moons, like a full moon, where you do a release, you literally write something that you're ready to let go, that you've been holding on to, and it's time to unpack it. I say unpack that 18 wheeler because that's what I had, Pete. I started out with a backpack and just holding on to stuff. And then that thing grew into a U-Haul truck. And then from a U-Haul truck, Pete, I had a 18 wheeler that had no wheels that I was carrying around on my back. And I had a lot of forgiving to do, a lot of letting go of certain things to do. And it's a process, and
It is.
throughout that process, we got to have self-compassion because you can get down on yourself and frustrated and all of that. But I feel like we never have more than we can truly handle. And then these things, what can I learn from this? How can I help someone else? And it's through my experiences as well as my professional training that I've had that has allowed me to be able to help women, and help other people, to be able to move forward and let go. So yeah, that full moon release is something that you can do for everyone tuning in. If you have something that you've been holding on to and you're just ready to let it go, you can write it out on a piece of paper and then you go outside and you burn it, and when you burn it, you are letting it go and releasing that thing. And so that's something symbolic, that you can do where you feel like you're really doing something,
Oh wow. It's
That's
interesting you brought it up in that way because you're basically uh, getting an emotion, transforming and alchemizing it into something physical, and then physically burning it. And then as it dissipates out into the ether, it becomes an emotional uh, entity that you
Release.
let go and you released. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yes, that is something that people can do. That's another tool. You guys pick that up and put it in your pocket.
That's a good one. I
Yes,
really
we
like
got
that.
many tools. There's a lot of different things that you're able to do when we talk about that area of forgiveness. And also, I cannot neglect this, Pete. There's certain crystals, that you
Mm.
can hold in your hand when you're doing this release. When you want to have clarity in your life, you can bring in clear quartz, into your life for clarity. Because sometimes we have confusion and we feel like we can't process our thoughts, and we're all over the place. I will hold a clear quartz and journal with that and just let myself free flow and go. And when you're doing that full moon release, you can have like your rose quartz with you. There's so many different, you can use moonstone. There's many different crystals that you could use depending on what it was, or it is that you're trying to accomplish through that release. Exactly. Is it that you're wanting to forgive so you can open up your heart? Is it that you're trying to, what exactly is it? Because we have different things that we strive for when we're doing that.
Absolutely. It's interesting you bring that up. Last month, we tried something that was new to me. My wife does have a collection of different crystals and rocks that she uses and takes baths with. And last month, we actually went out into the moonlight under the full moon, and we saged the crystals in the area, put out a glass of water, which we now call moon water, and re-energized the crystals and energized the water that was in the middle of all the crystals. And then if we're having a dark day or feeling emotional or something's off and we need to let go of something throughout the month, the water's available. We sort of set an intention, bless it, whatever that means, and then drink it. And the crystals aren't something that I knew much about or really believed in before, but you were talking about energetics, and the energy and the vibrations and the frequencies that are out there that we can't even detect with these five senses. That the scientists are now saying that they can only detect about 1% of what's actually going on with all the tools and the technology that we now have. And that's probably lowballing it even. There's just
Mhm.
so much going on that we know nothing about yet, but we feel
Right.
it.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I love that you brought that up about the moon water. That is definitely a thing. It's not like it's a real thing that people do. And I've done it myself. And so
That's cool. I'd
yeah,
never heard about it. It was new to
yeah,
me. I was like,
yeah, I
oh, that's
definitely I've done that. And the moon growing up, it was like certain things were considered to be like taboo,
mhm,
and it's like everything is connected, I'm
mhm.
not gonna go all
Agreed.
into the long old thing on that, but yeah, the sun, the star, the moon, like it's we're all intertwined and connected.
I love that. And I actually agree with that. During my personal meditation, I envision that. And it's
Mhm.
healing, it's empowering, it's beautiful to realize that, what we are is completely and entirely different than the who we identify as while we're in these human bodies.
Mhm. Absolutely. We are connected though to that infinite intelligence, and if when we tap into that, and that's how you tap into that through meditation. You tap into that when you are able to forgive and you let go. It's like you're not carrying around this baggage from when you was 5 anymore, you don't want to carry around the baggage from when you was 16 and something happened. So it's a process, and sometimes we're so busy with work, we're busy with life, and so then we forget about it, but then we're wondering why am I having the hardest time moving on or processing this or doing this in my life? When I start talking to people, I discover some of that stuff goes all the way back to when something first happened in their life. that they didn't approve of, you know? And so we go back and we heal and we deal with the inner child and, you know, let that inner child know that she or he is loved and free them, you know, allow them to let that go and forgive and be able to move on, you know? And so I think life is good. It's good. We've gone through so much over the last year and a half with
Wow, no kidding,
COVID
right?
and all
No
of
kidding.
that, where
What
it's like,
what has that
oh,
experience been like for you guys? I know I almost regret saying this, survivor's guilt. I don't know, but it's been by far the best 2 years of our lives
I
in
would
a
agree
lot of
with
ways.
you. Yes, I would definitely agree with you. I feel like it allowed me to grow even more because I had more time, I felt like, to, you know, have my self reflection, self awareness, and to do things like start writing my book and get back into that. And then for me to be able to focus a little bit more on other areas of my life, you know, with the family that I wanted to have that I didn't even know that I was starting to miss, you know,
Yeah,
with
same here with
life
us.
being, yeah, I think it was, and it's, my condolences go out to all the families who could be tuning in or people tuning in who may have lost a loved one.
Yeah.
Definitely our condolences. And I do know that COVID, it helped a lot of different families to reset. That was a time for self reflection. And what happened was we were able to look at things so much closer and have all of these new awarenesses that maybe we had not noticed before that was going on. And I know that some people realize, like, hey, I've been in this relationship for 10 years and it's not even really my thing. This isn't my jam. I got to get out of here. So a
Mhm.
lot of relationships fell apart and other relationships got stronger. It was like a time of truth or something, you know,
That
throughout
term you
COVID.
used, the reset. Have you heard the term the Great Reset?
Yes, I have heard about that. I've
I've
heard that
always
term.
thought about that as a negative thing from the ultra elite, that they're in control of everyone and everything. And that's called the Great Reset. But I love to reframe it with what you just taught me, in that this was a moment in time, these last few years, where it was an opportunity for a great reset. How you described it, I love that. It's far more beautiful than the meaning that I was giving it before.
Oh, well, I'm glad that I was able to help with that, to expand that a little bit.
That was awesome. I needed that.
Oh, that's good stuff. Good stuff.
Now, when you were talking about forgiveness, it reminded me of a story by a woman. She's a life coach. Her name's Brooke Castillo. And in one of her presentations, she had hundreds of people in the room. And she said, "Who in here likes their job?" You know, and everybody raised their hand. She picked a woman out of the crowd, had her come up to the stage with her and said, "So tell me about your job. What do you do?" And she said, "Well, I'm a hairdresser and we have this shop and I just love the people I work with." And she was just gushing about how great it was. And then she said, and Brooke Castillo looks at the crowd and she goes, "Here we go." And everybody kind of chuckled, you know. And the woman said, "There's this lady in charge of it. She's our manager. And she's just so negative. She'll come out and she'll harass us at 2 p.m. every day. And she tells us what to do to be better and how we need to be cleaner and how we need to, be different and be better. And it just brings us all down. It's like no appreciation. And we went to her with this information, and the woman, the manager, was hurt by this because she had just spent $800 out of her own bank account and took all of them and their families out to dinner, for a steak dinner, for an appreciation dinner. But that wasn't really their love language. All they needed was words of affirmation, not this massive once a year kind of gift.
Hmm.
And Brooke Castillo looked at her. She said, "When's the last time you appreciated yourself?" And the woman started to cry. She goes, "I've never appreciated myself."
Wow.
And that was mind blowing. Immediately, she had her take out a
Hmm.
phone and set an alarm that said self appreciation. She said, "From now on, every day at this time, when you're all being triggered, I want you to appreciate yourself," before she has the chance to lower your vibration. Bring your own vibration up. Don't expect her to do it for you. Maybe she's not in a place where she can, and that's okay. But you take responsibility, and you start appreciation, for yourself every day. And I thought that was magical. That was
I
so cool.
love it. I love, love, love that. That's a good share. That's good stuff right there. And you know what? That happens to a lot of us where we don't have that self-appreciation. That actually
Mhm.
goes back to one of the things that I am an advocate of is self-love. It's like we want these relationships, we want these friendships, we want people to love us, but how much do you love yourself?
Mhm.
And when was the last time you told yourself you love yourself? I mean, sometimes I've run, and this is not necessarily a bad thing, but there's many people I know that have never ever said to themselves, I love you. They find that that was weird or awkward. But once we meet and, obviously we come into contact with each other, that's one of my things I share is that I give people that assignment. Look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, say, I love you. And after you get over like the shock or the whatever that weird feeling you think you have, and you laugh a couple times after a while, you'll get used to it. And then the more we say, I love you to ourselves, we're going to walk in that way. We're going to treat ourselves that way. We're going to make sure that and that's in every area of our life, not just, you saying it, but you really feeling it, you really talking the talk, walking the walk, or is however that saying goes, but where you not only say it, but you treat yourself that way by the things that you eat, by the way that what you put in your body, how you treat your body, moving your body. I always say if we don't move it, we lose it. And that was something throughout COVID where I started back hiking and my ankles would kill me, but I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, let's just do like a little something here, we don't have to go out here like we're professional hikers, just help me move my body a little bit. And so I would get my family to go with me, but that's a part of self-love too, and we have to learn that we have to put ourselves in a position where in our mind, our mindset, where we know that we matter. We have to take care of ourselves. Just like, whenever a plane gets ready they go through turbulence and there's a lot happening. And then if you get nervous, you're sitting there. If they tell you to put your mask on, you're not supposed to get up and go put the person's mask on that's next to you. You put yours on first. Then you can help so many more people. So when we take care of ourselves through self love, self care, knowing our worth and our value, this is how we're able to contribute in our families and help them to grow and help them to glow and help them to level up to the next level. It's by taking care of you first. Because if you don't take care of the captain of the ship,
Yeah,
can't take care of nobody else. So definitely having that self-love. And I love that share. That was good stuff. I like that.
I agree with that. My sister, one of my sisters, I've got many. She told me years and years ago, I was going through a really rough time. And she said, look, if you're okay, your three sons will be okay. And you need to be okay. If not for you, then for them. And she said, look, you're like a glass. If it's half full, you don't have anything to give. But if you're filling it up and it provides an overflow and spills into their cups, they'll be all right. You need to start practicing some self-care. I went out that day, joined the gym, and started doing things for me. What does a person do when they truly love themselves?
You treat yourself that way by the things that you eat. When you're eating foods, and putting things into your body, you got to look at it like, okay, what is this going to do for me? Some people want to take vitamins, that's fine. Some people want to exercise, that's fine. We want to just remember that these bodies of ours are temporary. So we don't have to be tip top shape perfect, but just knowing that you want to take care of your body, treat yourself good. This could be when you're in a relationship, having self love, enough love for yourself to know when it's time to walk away, having enough self love to know when that is your person for you, having enough self love for yourself to know that your worth, like in understanding that when it comes to taking a job or doing a certain job, and not undervaluing yourself. Self-love is self-respect. Also, having that respect for yourself. Self-love is knowing, having boundaries, being able to say no when you mean no, and you let your yes be yes. Self-love is being impeccable with your word.
Mhm.
Self-love encompasses so much, Pete, that we would be here for weeks and weeks if I tell you everything. But yeah, it's basically you gotta love yourself enough. Like, I know there's like a drug epidemic. Love yourself enough to want to get your help if that's where you're at, and I know that sometimes it's hard to have a certain mindset when we're in those, when people are in those spaces. I know people that have gone through that, and it's tough, but just a little bit of self-love, just a little bit with the seed, just enough to know like that you need to change something when something's not working. Loving yourself enough to put you at the forefront and not putting yourself last, because remember, you could do so much more for other people when you're taking care of yourself. So that could be the gym, that could be meditation, it's you time, making sure that you have a little bit of you time. It doesn't mean that I'm saying you need to go to the Bahamas or that you have to go to Hawaii, but that's good too. That's the extra stuff, right? But
Yeah.
having this in your life on a daily basis where it's not just once a year that you go out and you buy yourself something. If you need a pair of shoes, get yourself a pair of shoes. If you need, and that's one of the things I have to tell my husband, we're not going to have you wearing these shoes until the soles fall off. If you need a pair of shoes, get a pair of shoes,
You
like,
sound like my wife. I'll do that too.
yeah. So,
So starting
hey,
out and keeping it simple though, I like the acronym JAMS, journaling, affirming yourself, meditating, being mindful, and growing your spirituality. Those are key, I think, to truly up leveling the self and being able to contribute more to the lives of others. I love that acronym.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, when you were in your darkest spaces in life and you were surviving until you could start thriving, are these the things that helped you the most? And were there any other tools that you came across that were useful at that time in your life?
Wow, there were so many things, back then, because I went through different periods of different things. So as a child, the way that I dealt with things was different than when I got older. That was me
Mm,
just being, I needed to be a kid as much as possible. So for me, that meant when I went to school, school was all about like recess, like, because that's what made me feel good. And I wanted to do more of the things that made me feel happy, didn't make me have to think about myself, like of who I was or who I thought I was, because some of those things was definitely a lie,
mhm,
when I was there going, dang, I'm not smart enough and I can't get this. This is too hard. And it was just like this lazy brain syndrome. And it had a lot to do with like home life. Home wasn't perfect at that time. My mother had left us with her grandmother. And so I needed to play more. So as children, you'll notice that maybe there could be some slacking off in school. They're not really like doing their work. They don't bring papers home to get signed. And that doesn't mean that there's necessarily bad things happening like is to the extreme of what I had it, but just as a parent being attentive to that, like, well, why is it that you're so forgetful? Pay attention to all the little signs. This kid wants to
mm.
play all the time, it could be something else more going on. Are they stressed out? Why can't you, so just look into it. And it doesn't mean that it's the same stresses that I had in life, but I just think when we're kids, the adults should pay a little more attention to our behaviors to be able to identify when
Mm.
something is off or
Yeah.
if that's just the norm of what this kid has always brought.
I agree with you. As adults, as a parents, even in this world filled with so many distractions and sources of stress and trauma that we're going through, it's so important for us to be able to be present with them on a daily basis, moment to moment, like you're talking about with mindfulness. How many kids do you have? How many children?
I have 6 kids.
Nice.
So I
I've
had
got
quite a
three of
few.
mine and three of my wife, so we also have six,
Oh,
and blended
okay.
family. But we kind of got together later in life about 6 years ago. So I had raised mine, she had raised hers, and now we've got grandbabies, and
We have
it
the
is so
same.
fun.
Yes, yes. Yes, my husband and I have two kids that live at home, and then the other four are adults. And so
Nice.
my I've been through a divorce, so my current husband and we have one child together.
Cool.
And he came into my son's life when my son was very young. So, and that's his papa. That's his
That's awesome.
pops, you know.
I love
Yes.
that you talk about presence with children and being aware and mindful of what they may or may not be going through. I know as children, I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, when I was little, I would put a meaning or a definition to the way that someone would treat me, like a parent or a teacher or a sibling or another kid. And sometimes those meanings were completely wrong or incorrect or misperceived. And then I would base a whole set of beliefs upon something totally false. And it was very disempowering. And as we grow into adulthood, if we're lucky, we come across information that allows us to then sort of up level or upgrade our beliefs and our perspectives, the way we see ourselves and the world in general. Some of us don't reach that stage ever, and some of us later in life, like me, just recently in my early 40s, where I take a good look at the beliefs and the habits and perspectives that I currently am operating my life from and creating from. And then I ask the question, like, okay, so that's the old belief. What would serve me in a way of a new creation? What could I up level this belief to be in order to serve me and those around me? What are some beliefs or ways of looking at the world that you've been able to upgrade through your life that have really empowered you to be a better human being in your own eyes and a better mother and life partner?
That I can trust people and not all people are out to get you. Because when people would say, "What's your philosophy?" I didn't have one. Mine was like, trust no one. Okay.
Hmm.
Because if you
Yeah.
can't trust family, you can't trust nobody.
Mm.
But I was able to heal from that. And so, there are good people in the world, and not everybody is out to get you. And so that was a huge thing for me. And just knowing that everybody has been through something. We all have had some kind of a trauma. There was this exercise that someone did where they would say, "Hey, step forward if you have had someone in your family that was a drunk." And then step forward if this. And they gave all these different things, and people just kept moving. You know what I'm saying? Forward, because it was not very many people that was still back there at the line. You know what I'm saying? Of where the question started. And so we all have been through something. And it's just really important for us to definitely go through different types or forms of an evaluation, whether that's self evaluation, but being able to look at ourselves for who we are and then deciding, like you said, does this belief, is this good for me? Is this something that serves me in my life now? What is the purpose of this belief? Is this true? Asking yourself, is this true? And knowing that, wow, all this time I believed that and that was a lie. And Pete, I can share a couple little tiny ones with you right now.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so, and these are not anything that's like mind blowing or anything that, but these are some simple things, guys. Like one of them is that if you break a mirror, you're going to have 7 years bad luck. If you open an umbrella in the house, you're going to bring all this bad luck. And then you break the mirror, and so now you're walking around affirming something for in your life that's not good for you. And then you're going to now draw in that vibration and that frequency of bad luck because you believe that you are going to have bad luck because you broke that mirror. So
Mhm.
that's one that we know, that's a small little superstition type thing that's not true. I do not believe it. And when I broke a mirror, I did not have 7 years of bad luck. Everything was absolutely fine. So I want those of you, if you dropped a mirror last week, yesterday, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, let it go. And I want you to know that like you truly have the power to create the type of life that you want to live. And it starts with us taking little steps. And I know that not everyone has the ability to just be like like, oh, I'm going to be self-help guru and do this and that. If you're working with tools out there and it's not working for you, reach out to somebody.
Mhm.
You can reach out to someone. It doesn't even have to be me. Just talk to somebody. You have to talk to someone. And for myself, I offer free discovery calls where you're able to reach out to me and we can talk to find out, are we a good fit? Should we be working together? Because I would love to help people in their journey of getting to who they truly are and understanding how to heal from these things that have happened to us. Because I know that some people say, well, I do the affirmations, but they don't work. There's a little more to it. You got to believe it, you got to feel it, go into the emotion and act as if, so there's like some things. I know when The Secret came out, a lot of people was like, oh, the secret, and all you got to do is this, and oh, it doesn't work. There's a whole thing to it. If I'm up here going like this, I'm going to be successful one day. I know I will. It'll come. I hope it better. Maybe it might. Then you're going to get that. You know what I'm saying? But if you're like, you know what? I am success. I already am
There you
that,
go. Yeah.
And then you walk in your power, know who you are. And it's like, I know when people talk, they make it seem like it's just some kumbaya moment and the sky opens up and everything just comes falling down on us. It's a process, you guys. There's nothing, I can't give you like the end all be all, like this is what you're going to do and then your whole life is going to be fixed like in a podcast. I can give you some tools that can help get you started in that direction, and then you're going to just keep adding to that. You're going to hear things, oh, and let me try this, let me do that. But take it, use it, run with it. Being in a positive place is really going to help you a lot, like starting to say, you know like putting an affirmation there, starting to say things to yourself, like positive things. It depends on what it is that you're struggling with or what it is that's happening in your life. But if it's that old stuff from way back when, from when we were kids, and now in your teenage years, it's like talk to someone, journal about that thing, and you know, and
Shante, after hearing you say that you are more than willing to connect with someone or anyone and help them, what are the best ways for people to get a hold of you and reach you?
they can reach me on my website. I have a website that it's AIM Beyond the Physical, and it's aimbeyondthephysical.com. And I have a whole program that's a 12-week program where I work with people either in a group or either it's one-on-one. It depends on what it is that they're looking for exactly. And we go through a transformational program, and it's where we go within, we pull all that stuff out, and then we move forward, we set goals. It's like going to Aim Beyond the Physical Academy, and it's really good stuff. It's very life transforming. You get homework. I hold you accountable. I mean, we go through a whole healing journey to help you to create that life that you truly want to have. And I think it's pretty awesome. It's
I
good
love that.
stuff.
Aimbeyondthephysical.com.
Yes.
That's awesome. Um,
Mm.
so that seems like a great tool for anyone who is in a dark place or who is in a really great place and who may want to explore and experiment with more tools than maybe they've come across so far. Um,
Absolutely. It's good for people who are ready to take their journey to the next level. Anyone who is serious about it. If you're going through the motions of life and you don't know your purpose, if you're someone who wants to know who you are, if you're someone who's ready to, start your business, take your journey to the next level, you want to have a more of a positive mindset, you want to learn anything about crystals, That's a different program. Aim Beyond the Physical is transformational. That's a 12-week program. So that's a little bit different. And it's just to help you get to the next level, get unstuck, remove limiting beliefs and learn how to meditate, be introduced to that and understand your power, as a person. And to have these awarenesses brought up to you that you're able to identify yourself, where you can identify what frequency you have been on. I help you to understand your values. What is it that you value the most in your life? And we dream big. What is it that you dream of having? And we do vision boards. It's a whole transformational program that is definitely you investing time in yourself, and allowing yourself to grow and glow. It's good stuff, Pete. I love it.
I
That's
think
my
that is something that someone who loves themselves or wants to learn how to practice loving themselves. I think that that sounds like a really great place to start with you.
absolutely. Thank you, Pete. I think it's a good place to start too, Pete.
Hey, we all got to start somewhere, right? Um, so last year I came across some content by Dr. David R. Hawkins,
Hmm.
and he produced and created, or maybe it was a download that he received. It was something called the Map of Consciousness. And in it, he talks about energies and vibrations and where we within our physical bodies and these limiting five senses can reside through thinking, speaking, and doing certain things. And basically, when you're vibrating at zero, you're no longer physically alive and in the body, right? But he said right around 18 to 20, there's hopelessness at the lower end, all the way up to 1,000. And when you vibrate at 1,000, which very few humans have, it's more like Buddha consciousness or Christ consciousness. And there's all these different levels in between where we all vacillate between all the different emotions of which then produce the vibrational energies that emit and transmit from us at a cellular level. I mean, Bruce Lipton is a cellular biologist, used to teach at Harvard back in the 70s and explains how a cell actually has antenna on it and how everything's wirelessly connected and instantaneously communicates in the universe. And it's all very mind blowing and boggling to my mind. But
Hmm.
I love learning about these things.
I
And
think it's
uh,
good stuff.
oh, there's so much to know out there. There really is. And the
Uh-huh.
useful things are things to know, like, hey, like if you are hopeless, anger sits on the map of consciousness above hopelessness. So if you're in a hopeless state, you can think about something to get really angry about and then immediately transform your vibrational energy levels upward on this map of consciousness. And it's something you can Google. It's a picture and it's really helpful. But then from anger, we can then transcend that anger and up level the consciousness and our personal emotional vibratory status, to something like hopeful. And eventually we reach places where we can self-identify as love, as success, as these things that we want to attract. And through repetition of some of these affirmations, he teaches that it's possible for anyone at any time to up level a vibrational state or our emotional state through thinking and doing certain
Mhm.
things. Are there certain things that you've learned to habitually and repetitiously think about and do, say on a daily basis, that have empowered you the most?
I have to check myself, my self-sabotaging thoughts. So mindset is everything. I'm a mindset coach. A lot of what I do has to do with that, but
Mhm.
we also tap a lot into the heart space as well, And so for me, it's about what I do on a daily basis is monitor my thoughts,
How do you do
because
that?
if you got to pay attention to who you are. If you have thoughts running through your head that are just like negative thoughts, thoughts of putting yourself down, thoughts judgmental of other people, pay attention to that. You got to know who you are. What is it that I'm spending most of my time thinking about? And so there has to be an awareness. And that's the first thing that people need to have in order for them to change things in their life, to me. And when you have the awareness, you can go, wow, I've been, wow, I noticed that I was really moody all day. I noticed that I was really kind of like chopping people's head off, or either I noticed I was just thinking a lot of negative things today. Wow. You have to have the awareness. And if you don't know, if you don't have the awareness, you can't change anything. And so for me, it starts there, knowing, just just even hearing me say that, somebody's now going to be able to go, huh, wow, I got to watch what I'm thinking. Because sometimes we don't think about what we're thinking. We just think, and we just let it go and flow. But you got to be more mindful of your thoughts, that's where you have to start.
So mindset and heart set, I like those terms. I've learned that if I think about something, um, it will instantaneously produce a chemical cocktail. And Joe Dispenza has done a lot of work surrounding this topic, where this chemical cocktail can be a couple hundred different chemicals and hormones, or 1,200, but they're instantly injected into the human body. And then within 2 pumps of the heart, have reached every part of the body through the blood vessels and that whole system. And there's anywhere from 80 to 100,000 miles that this 2 pumps of the heart pushes that blood through. Very pressurized, incredible system. And then he teaches that the chemicals, as they reach every part of our body from the thought we were thinking, literally provides an emotion, which then emits an energy outward that they can measure with machines now. So he will ask people to think about something that makes them angry and be able to measure the vibration and tell them if they're angry or not. Or, hey, think about a loving, healing thought. And then within a few pumps of the heart will emit a totally different energy. So as creators of our personal reality, he teaches we are literally in control of our vibratory state, our emotions, and everything that is attracted to us, because that's what we're transmitting outward simply through our mindset and through the thinking. Can you speak a little bit about heart set? What does that mean to you, and what is that all about?
Well, when we tap into our heart space, it's the frequency of love, and love is the highest frequency that you can be on. And just like, to me, like whenever you want to raise your vibration, gratitude is a quick way for us to do that.
I agree.
And so when you tap into your heart space, the love, forgiveness, letting go. When we think about, like, if you put your energy there now, focus it on your heart's area. And then you think of somebody that you love, like your wife, or if you have children and you think of a special time, something that one of them did for you that made your heart melt, it instantly puts you in a different vibration.
Mhm.
Like
It does.
you jump into there right away. It's like, oh, like think about maybe that birthday or that letter or that card or that thing that they said to you that one time, that where you was just like, ah, or think about when you guys first met and had an amazing relationship in the beginning and it was exciting and you were like, oh, I can't wait to see her again. We're going to go on another date. And that feeling you had when you was getting ready to pick her up or meet her, it puts you in that a different vibration right away. And so it is so true that what we think about
Have you ever
matters.
found yourself using that as a tool, like realizing and seeing, like a child or your loved one or a coworker, even, they're tense, they're angry, they're bitter, they're upset, and you ask them a question specifically to guide them into thinking about something else, like one of their children, or ask them, like,
Mm-hmm.
what has your happiest moment been with your spouse or one of your children? And instantly you see their shoulders go down, and
Yes.
they just take a breath, and they're a different person instantly, right?
Mm-hmm. I ask my clients, I see this on my clients when we're over Zoom, and they come in and they're frustrated about something that happened that day. And
Mm,
I'm like, okay, let's back up a minute. Let's talk about your wins. Let's start this
mm,
off with what are your wins for this week? And or what was it for last week? I want to know about a win you had. And I can see that on them go from the tension to the, yeah, well, and so, yeah, shifting our minds, then we can talk about, sometimes I don't even want to know about what all went wrong. Let's talk about that last, because then we got a fix for you for that. But you can see the difference of, whenever we're talking about different things. So, that is definitely another tool that people can utilize to help bring themselves into a calm, to help bring you where you're not feeling the negative energy. Because the one of the really important things, honestly, is for you to be on a different frequency, because when you're on a different frequency, on a different vibration, then it's easier for you to be in a positive state of mind. It's easier for you to have the self-awareness. It's easy for you to grow and change and move in the direction you should be going, so that you're in alignment with who you came here to be. Whenever we're vibing low, on a low frequency, and we're thinking negative thoughts, and we're thinking about all these things that are, that went wrong. And I'm not saying life is going to be perfect. Obviously, we're going to think about these things because we're human, but it's where is your comfort zone? Where are you most of the time? If you find that you're most of the time spending yourself in a negative headspace,
mm.
that's an awareness. It allows you to say, okay, I want to change this. Because if you don't have the awareness, you can't change it.
So if you're working with someone who's really in a dark place, they're super negative, they're habitually and chemically addicted to the thinking patterns that have gotten them to where they're at, uh, what do you
Wait,
suggest that they focus on?
chemically addicted?
What I mean by that is, personally for me, I got into a mindset where I was incredibly self-loathing and negative, full of hate and bitterness for years, and to a point where I was almost addicted to that thinking pattern and the chemistry that those thoughts would produce within my body and the energy that I would emit. That's kind of, I don't know what
Hmm.
you think about that, but for me, it was sort of almost like I was addicted to those patterns, and that was my comfort zone. It was very low vibration, and I needed to break out of it. I just did not know how for years and years. What would you suggest to people that are sort of addicted to their current lifestyle and absolutely hate it, if
You
that
got to
makes sense?
find, yes, you have to find more positive people to be around. You can't stay stuck
Mm,
in that the same circles. You have to be brave and have courage to step outside of that.
I
So
like
that
that.
means, like, you can join positive Facebook groups. You
Mm,
can join, maybe find people on Instagram that are like, that you're attracted to, that's going in a direction you want to go and not where you currently are. You have to look ahead and then be open. You have to open yourself up to have more experiences, so that you can then get to know, who do you want to be? Do I like this guy? Do I like this girl I am right now? Like, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? And so that means you got to start finding people that are like the people you want to become. You can't keep on hanging out with the people who are feeding the anger, feeding the hate,
yeah,
feeding the discord, because yes, it brings your vibration down. And there's stuff that happens, you guys, that that it's wrong, it's not right, that that makes no sense. And it's like, you got to start being honest with yourself. Like, who am I kidding? Like, why am I? It's like, what that is sometimes, though, Pete, is I don't want to come on here and be like, acting like I'm Dr. Oprah or something. But sometimes when we are going through things like that, we need to belong. Everyone wants to belong to something somewhere and be accepted. And sometimes what happens is, some of the lower, like, it's easier for us sometimes to find that type of stuff, because it's sometimes the loudest, or the most noticeable, because that's where we are at the time. And so, just knowing that I don't want to be like this. What do I need to do? Stop whatever it was that you was going through. Maybe if it's the news that's making you feel more of that vibration, turn it off and have less of that. I'm not saying never, but let's start pulling back a little bit and have a little bit less of the activities that create all of those emotions and those feelings. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we can be around some stuff that will pump us up, get us worked up, and you're like,
Mhm.
yeah, and all that, right? So it's like we got to back away from that table a little bit. If that means I don't need to watch news as much, I need to turn it off. If that means I need to get outside and have a little bit more fresh air, and have a little bit more practice of mindfulness, let me do that. It's like you have to
Mm,
know that, like, you gotta pull yourself back away from it and get around more positive people. Go to, like, places where you can find a little bit more peace, a little bit more love, get into some groups and,
I
you
like
know
that. Yeah, people and environments really mattered for me when I started over back in 2014 and was beginning a new self recreation process for sure. And I love
Mhm,
I'm a big lists guy, right? So it would even benefit me personally if I were to draw a line down the center of the paper and then on the left side, things to turn off and list all those. And then on the right side, things to turn on and list all of those.
mhm,
What do I want to expand out of on the left side, turning them off and expand into on the right side?
mhm,
What are we going to turn on? Better crowds to maybe participate in, like you said, Facebook groups. A lot of people are stuck in their homes and can't leave.
mhm,
And it really helps to get out of our heads when we replace what is disempowering with groups or people or things that are far more empowering than where we're currently residing. I agree with that.
mhm.
That was
Definitely.
beautifully said. I like that.
Thank you. I was gonna add definitely drawing upon the positive, drawing upon like love, hope, faith, desire. Those things are positive things. And just knowing and having your meter, the radar on and watching for, the negative things like revenge, anger, jealousy, hatred, fear, greed. When those things come up, knowing that this is a negative, a low vibration, let me change this a bit. And so just having that awareness is really it's huge, and I know that it's a lot of us get stuck, in ruts, and we may not even realize that we're vibrating on a low frequency. We think that what we're doing is that we're doing good, and that this is normal, but it's if you're somebody who's ready, you're already going to be questioning things. If you're somebody who's ready for change, you're already inside knowing who you want to be. If you're someone who's just feeling sick and tired of the way things have been going, that's enough right there for you to go, what can I do? You're questioning it, and you want to know. So that means you're going to do some research. You're going to do some of these things, so that you can begin to shift, It's time for us to move forward, step into our power, know who we truly are. There's many things that people can do. You can go into they have like these fitness, these gym, not only just gyms, but there's like boot camps where they do like the Zumba, there's yoga. There's places like that. You can find people, meet people in places like that are like-minded individuals. When you put yourself in a place, allow the opportunity by putting yourself in those places where you can meet people who are like the people you want to become like. That's what you have to do. And you can't be afraid of it. And you can't be worried about what Jane and Tom and Timmy and all of them are doing. You have to worry about taking care of you first. And then you can go back and get all of them and say, hey, dudes, check this out. I got some good stuff for you. This positive mindset, this affirming myself, this self love, this self care, this is looking really good on me. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling good and looking good. I tell people, do introduce new stuff. When you have new experiences, Pete, it brings about new interest. And then those new
Absolutely.
interests can get you new passions, and having new passions can lead you to a new purpose, because you can repurpose your life. It doesn't, you can have multiple purposes, because at one point it's to be a father. Let me raise my kids.
Mhm.
And that's my focus, and then I'm still taking care of myself while I'm doing this. And now they're grown and they don't need me in the same way. So now my new focus is I'm refocusing, and this is where I'm going. And then as we get older, it starts to become more and more about us, more and more. So yeah, you guys definitely use these tools. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to Pete, and if you want to talk more, I'm definitely offering free discovery calls. And if you're local, I'll see you probably around town.
That is awesome. I really love what you're doing. I think that it's very possible that everything in your life has prepared you for this moment right here, right now, and that you've found your gift, and your gift is to empower people. And I'm really grateful for you for coming on the Good in the Head podcast today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed talking with you. I hope I didn't talk too much,
No, no, not at all. Yeah, I love hearing what you have to say. It's all very empowering and useful. You've got a lot of tools and tips for people to get started. I love the acronym JAMS. And those are all practices that I also use. And I love the acronym because it makes it really super easy for anyone to remember, hey, journaling, affirmations, meditating, mindfulness, spirituality. Those are the key things to get anyone started, going down a totally different trajectory that is going to expand them into a better place in life than where they're at now. And I love the mantra, always be upgrading, and that's possible for anyone at any time. We can always do something different and experiment with something new to uh, possibly upgrade our personal life experience. And I appreciate you sharing all of your different ways and tips and tools and tricks here on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I have so many tips and so many tools that we could not get it all out in this time period, but I definitely am sending you tons of positive energy. And thank you so much for having me. And we have to keep striving, Pete, for us all to aim beyond the physical. And for me, that's huge. That means we're not just looking at our physical selves, but we're taking care of the inside, taking care of ourselves inside out, and rebuilding, with one limiting belief at a time, replacement. Okay.
That is good stuff. Thank you so much, Shanta,
Yes.
and I appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a great night.
All right, you do the same, and we'll have to do this again soon. I know that you were saying that you're replacing your camera, so you weren't able to be seen on this Zoom podcast creation, and I hope that next time people will be able to see you and connect with you. And it was weird not looking in your eyes as we were doing this. I was looking all over, but
Oh, I
it
know.
turned out great.
I did not want to reschedule, but if we had to, I was okay with it. But I'm getting my camera replaced tomorrow. And I didn't want to cancel this. I know we had planned it, and I'm glad that I did. And I'm glad that we were able to connect. And I'll have to send you a picture, Pete, if you're going to post this anywhere.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna upload it onto YouTube tonight for sure.
Oh, this is that current?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, that's good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff. All
Oh, yeah.
right. Does that mean you need a picture of me?
I've got a few off of Instagram, and if you would
Oh,
like to send me pictures, contact information, websites, information you want to share with people, I'll definitely put it down in the show notes underneath the link within YouTube.
all right. Will do. Will do. Thank you. You have a great night. Tell your wife I said hi, and I'm glad that she suggested that we do a podcast together,
Yeah, she's
a show.
incredible. I'm so blessed to have her.
She
Thank
is.
you.
She
I
has
will.
good energy. Good energy.
Yes. Hey,
All
make it a
right.
great week.
Thank you. Likewise.
Take care.
Bye bye.